Y'all, it's Jeff Summers with Watch You Know, and today we're going to dive into the Seagull 1963. Now, by this end of the video, I hope not to have confused you thoroughly, because this is kind of a confusing topic in the regards that there are many manufacturers in China that are actually producing a watch that looks like this. Keep in mind that they are all homages to the original 1963. It does tend to get really diluted as far as, what is real, what is not, amongst watch collectors and people that want to buy a watch that looks like this. There is no true Seagull 1963 unless you go back to the original 1,400 pieces that were made in 1963. And if you have one of those, consider yourself very fortunate, because they're extraordinarily rare and quite valuable. So with all that out of the way, let's dive into the watch and check out what we have here, which is a 40 millimeter diameter watch. Now, 40 millimeter, you say, I have a 38 or I have a 42 maybe, but it also is available in 40. So you have three options. Other options on this watch are whether you want to go with sapphire or if you want acrylic. Originally, they were acrylic. I'm talking about the original 1963 aviator watch. So some people like that because they think it's more true. I happen to want to get the sapphire. It's a little better as far as, its durability, and it's less likely to scratch. The acrylic does tend to be rather thick, and this watch right here, you can see it's not very thick in comparison. I think this is 13 millimeters. If you get the acrylic, I want to say exactly, it's 14.6, but I may be wrong. And if you put the NATO strap under it, which is so commonly used on this watch, it really makes it a watch that sits extraordinarily high. I happen to love mesh straps, and if you follow the channel, you'll know that. So that's why I wanted to put on this. And I hadn't really seen it much on a mesh strap, and wanted to just try it out like that. One thing about this watch that you'll find quite amazing is that on paper, it looks like an absolute disaster as far as all the colors. You have this champagne colored dial and the blue hour and minute and chronograph hands, and then the red second hand for the chronograph, and gold indices. Ugh, it just sounds horrible, but yet it looks terrific. So not always are things exactly in reality as they are on paper. They can be better. So it all comes together quite well. And on the dial, you have 21 yuan, which represents 21 jewels. And below, there's some Chinese characters, which really essentially equate to the Tianjin watch factory. The real great thing about this watch is its movement. A fully integrated mechanical chronograph. A lot of the luxury watches, if they're using a chronograph, it's going to be fully integrated as well. So you have two types. You have a modular chronograph and a fully integrated with the column wheel, and that's what this is. It's giving me anywhere from 5 to 15 seconds of time loss per day. So it's doing pretty good, especially considering the price of this timepiece. I paid $190 for this watch. Yes, some people think the truest form of this watch is to go to Sea-gull to their website, and you'll find the watch. And when I looked around, the only one that looked like this was $560 US, which is considerably higher than what I paid for this. So have I had any problems with this watch in the several months that I've owned it? Absolutely not. It works beautifully. I just couldn't justify paying well over $500. And you'll find them in all different price ranges. So what I've done for you is I've put the direct link to AliExpress of this exact watch. So you can pick it up in whatever variation that you want. And again, I'm not affiliated with AliExpress or anything like that. I'm just happy with this watch. You know, it's got a signed crown. It is not a screw down crown. You can get it with Lume, without Lume, but I just don't like a Lume that's not going to be well done. From the reviews and pictures I've seen of this watch with Lume, not very well done, so I skipped that. It's highly polished. Probably would have been nice if this watch had been created with some brushed elements, but it's not, and I think it's fine. 50 meters of water resistance. I'm not sure if this really is going to be 50 meters. Don't take it swimming, don't take it diving. It certainly isn't that type of watch. If it gets wet in the rain or washing hands, it's going to be fine. But it certainly isn't, you know, something that you'd really want to go snorkeling with. On the back of the watch, it says Plan B. Now, the Plan B is actually a Seagull 1962 version, which is not this watch. And quite frankly, there are a lot of variations of the Seagull 63 that are out there. If you want to get the truest to the original, I recommend buying directly from Sea-gull. It is really a Swiss movement. Chinese watch, Swiss movement. How did that come about? Well, back in the late 40s, you had three major Swiss watchmaking brands, and Venus was one of them. And the Venus 175 chronograph, which is essentially what's here, was discontinued. And I think it was discontinued in 1949. They wanted to make space and have some extra money come into the company by selling the 175 and making way for their 188 movement. So they offered it to the Soviets. The Soviets already had a aviator watch for their army or whatever division that they have. But they offered it also to the Chinese, who said, sure, we will take this movement and make an aviator watch for our Air Force. And they did so, and they tweaked it. They added a few jewels and made it actually even better. Now, keep in mind too, I mentioned about the Plan B watch. That was obviously an alternative plan which was put aside, and that was a little different design. The Plan B that was resurrected in 2020, I believe they only made 650 of those timepieces. So what you have here is essentially a Swiss chronograph that's fully integrated mechanical for this amazing price. And wow. Now, why isn't it much more expensive? Well, the finishing is quite poor when you go down to the macro level. Just looking at it on one's wrist or taking it off and just examining it, it looks fantastic. It looks just fine. Chinese, not always bad. Yes, there are bad Chinese watches. This certainly is not one of them. It is a tremendous watch, which I highly recommend. So if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Watch You Know. And I hope you have a great day, evening, night, whatever time it is. And I'll see you in that next watch review. Bye.